Our girl is destitute.
What conspiracy theory do you have?
You're the Feyre.
I'm Feyre. He hates Tamlin. He's also a bit of a petty bitch.
And yet, she decides, let me just shoot my shot and see it. I'm like, girl.
Okay, so for those who aren't watching,
We're together.
we're together. We are in the same place
at the same time.
at the same time. But yes, we are together. We are at Ariel's apartment because it's Ariel's birthday today.
Yes. So Corryn came down to visit, and I'm so happy she's here.
Yeah.
Also, few disclaimers. One, I'm sitting this way and not as close to Corryn because my period decided to kick in the day before my birthday, so I am currently rocking the heating pad right now and have limited in true Sarah J. Mass fashion.
Yeah.
For those who haven't finished ACOTAR, read any of her other series, she talks about periods in every single one.
Yeah, she does.
But two, I think so far I think we're sounding okay. But just in case, we went karaokeing last night.
Yeah.
And so we went hard immediately.
Yeah.
With Pink Pony Club.
Yeah.
Like screaming. Like when I say karaoke, we had a karaoke room. Like,
oh yeah.
Not at a karaoke bar, like a room that we were in for 2 hours, just singing at the top. It was the best.
Oh my gosh. I feel like the female healing
dude
that sort of happened because we also did Decode.
Yeah.
Towards the end.
A few Paramours.
Yeah, we did a few Paramours, but when we did Decode by Paramore, that was towards the end.
Yeah.
And let's just say I reached a level of like sing yelling that I did not know was like physically possible in my body.
Oh yeah.
And also before that, earlier in the day, we did a drag brunch.
Yes. I'd forgotten we did drag brunch, and you and me were going ham.
We
just
were
like
screaming,
like
loving the queens.
I think it's the only time it's appropriate to catcall. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Because they want you.
That's what they want. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I'd forgotten that, and then afterwards I was like, oh. It was a great idea, but also not the best to do before karaoke.
Yeah, well, and also not to mention the fact that, like, as you guys know, Ariel and I talk, like, a lot. So, you know, like, the minute I got off the plane and we were reunited, it was just, like, instant, nonstop
talking.
Like, yapping.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and that, like, the night before, we ended up accidentally staying up till, like, 1 a.m. talking. But, yeah, so it's just been a lot of vocal usage. This morning we were both like very, very scratchy. So I mean, I think we sound a lot better now.
We do, but I came out for sure. It was like, hi.
Yeah. And I think I sounded like a 12-year-old boy.
My mom called me to wish me a happy birthday, and she was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, karaoke. She was like,
got it. I was gonna say, if any parent would get it, I feel like your mom would absolutely like totally get it. Yeah. So there's that. So our voices, and then also. It's really hot here.
Yeah.
Down here in LA.
Yes.
And we will have the AC going on. You can probably hear it. So just forgive us if you hear rattling and that coming on and off because we can't be dying while
otherwise
we do this.
We'd be melting like the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah. I don't think it would go very well. So yeah, I feel like those are the
disclaimers.
This
is the surprise we've been talking about.
Surprise.
Like we've been planning this for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, I think when my movie happened, which I'm done. Yay. That's why I'm here. I think when the movie happened, and then when I brought up me possibly coming down for your birthday, we were both like, oh, that would actually be really cool. And especially since we knew that there was going to be a hiatus right before this, we're like, that'd be kind of cool to like come back and be like, okay, we're gonna give you a little gift. Yeah. We're together. Yeah. I'm so excited. I know. It's really exciting.
This segues into my Cauldron saving, which is a combo of you being here and it being like today is my literal birthday.
It is actually her birthday.
I was
today.
born 33 years ago from my mother's womb, which is both my actual mother and yours.
Aww.
Oh yeah, we haven't told them.
We haven't?
No, we never talked about it.
Ariel's my firstborn child.
Yes. The story may need to be saved for another time.
Well, I'll be perfectly honest. I don't really remember how that even really came to be.
Yeah.
I just feel like our relationship early on,
it just was.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like Ariel's one of the first people that I realized that I could be pretty brutally honest to her about things, because there was such a like layer of love and respect.
Rapport.
But like, I think it was the foundation of like love and respect that we kind of had for each other really early on.
Yeah.
Kind of allowed us to sort of like exist in this space that you only really exist in with family.
I was going to say, like, even, I think long before either one of us said it, I know I certainly felt like this is like, Corryn is more than a friend. Like, she is blood.
Yeah.
Basically.
And we've been saying you're blood to each other
for like ever.
For like a really long time.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
And you know, if many of you are like lucky to have those kinds of relationships, like, you know what we're talking about, where it's this like kind of how the thing with family where you know that like no matter what, they're gonna be there if you're fortunate enough to have a family relationship like that. And Ariel and I both like are.
We're chosen family.
Yeah. When you know that your family, like, even no matter what you say to them, like, they're probably still going to be there for you. There's just this like comfort of that foundation never shaking, that foundation never disappearing. And I feel like that happened between us really early on. And early on in our friendship, Ariel was going through a lot of changes and a lot of things. So we were very much in a space where there was a lot of you coming to me for things and me kind of like being a shoulder and being like a guided, and like I'm older than Ariel by like a year.
Yeah. Like
it's really not like we have like a handful of months where it's 2.
Yeah.
But I think at that time in college, it felt like I was much older than you.
Yeah.
So there was sort of this weird like,
well, like I've had a tendency in a lot of my friend groups to be the baby of the friends. Because like I'm an August baby, which is like, you know, even in elementary through high school, like I was one of the younger. And so like, and I did a lot of the advanced classes with like you and David and our like my friends who are older than me. And so like, yeah, I was just like the baby, and like, it just kind of naturally formed.
Yeah. And like, I'm like very, as you guys have already seen, I'm like very aggressive with my love towards Ariel. And I'm aggressive to her when she does not realize how special and incredible she is. And I get really like intense about it, which
like grabbing my face.
Yeah.
Like, you're amazing.
Yeah. So I feel, and that feels like a very like motherly thing to do. So I think just really early on, I don't know, I think you made the joke or I made the joke, and it really just sort of landed where like Ariel is my firstborn child. And I think the longer we've stayed friends, the realer it gets like every year.
Well, and then also like you and my actual mom like get along. Like you are truly like the third daughter in the family.
Well, that's what's funny too is like, like Pilar, we have such like a love for each other. And what's really funny is I feel like your mom really early on, I don't even know if we told her about the firstborn whatever, but she always did kind of put me in the like, you and I are taking care of my baby girl like kind of thing. And I think it had a lot to do with like, we were making movies together, we were making short films, and I always, when I do projects with Ariel, when we're filming, I always really land in like a caretaker space. Like David and I kind of take turns of like being the like looking out for and whatever. And I think your mom kind of clocked that really early. So your mom would always be very like, when I was around, it would kind of be like, okay, like how's our baby girl? Like, how, you know, blah, blah. So Pilar was always really beautiful with that of like, I'm glad to know that she has like a mother.
Well, I was explaining to a friend of mine on my birthday party who like you never met. I was like, yeah, she's like my best friend, my sister, my mom, and also kind of my like work wife. Yeah. But like in a non-ancestral way. And then also her and David are also kind of my parents. Yeah. But in a non-ancestral.
Yeah, and in a completely non-romantic way between me and David. So like, it's a very hilarious like back and forth. But it's been really fun staying here because this is my first time actually staying with you guys, which is
crazy.
So fucking weird.
Yeah.
But it's my first time staying with them since we've lived together. Well, no, that's not true. In New York, I stayed with you guys.
In LA, yes.
But here in LA, and it's so funny how like we just naturally, I feel like, have slipped into like what we were when we were roommates. Like last night we were giggling because they have like kind of like it's like a galley kitchen, so it's like kind of tight. All three of us were in the kitchen. Basically, you and I just hovering over David as David cooks us dinner, which is like really classic. Yes. And like, I think at one point I just started laughing and I was just like, you guys, look at us. Yeah. Or like the night before, I like had all my things to get into the shower. And then like Ariel said something and I was like, okay, wait, I have to tell you this story. And like David's in the kitchen, she was sitting here and I was like holding all these things. And I was like, this feels so familiar.
It's so classic us. And I was like, go take your shower.
Yeah, I know. Ariel had to be like, you need to go. Because it's late and we want to go to sleep. So we're here. It's delightful. It's so fun to just like be together. And yeah, I mean, I guess like my Cauldron Save Me is probably just like, I'm happy that we get to start the pod up again.
I know.
Too.
I missed it.
I know. I missed it too. There's a lot of my friends on the movie who were like so confused because like episodes kept coming out and they're like, how are you doing this? Like what? And I was like, no, we recorded beforehand.
Oh yeah.
So Cauldron Save Me is just like save you guys from all of the like hilarious yapping ridiculousness that's about to happen like in this episode and us getting back together at this time.
Yeah.
In the book.
I'm honestly glad. At first I was like, oh, I was kind of sad like it wasn't a more interesting couple of chapters, but actually kind of thank God because that gives us more time to yap about like our shit and like I mean obviously we're gonna talk about the chapters but they're like I want to keep saying they're light chapters but they're not really.
Well, okay, so friendly reminder, so we're in chapters 28 through 29.
Yes.
And little brief like summary I guess, is, where we left Feyre was, her and Tamlin had sex.
Had our spicy scene.
Had our first spicy scene. And basically the sex was kind of brought on because Tamlin's like, I need to send you home.
Yeah.
And that all of that is spurred from
Rhysand
coming and we discover he's the
High Lord of the Night
Court. We discover that he's working for this kind of big bad. We get a name for the big bad, Amarantha. We find out who the she is that's been causing all this stuff. And we talked about in the last episode too of how like it's another one of the things that happens a lot in this book, which is you get more information, but yet somehow way more questions.
Right.
That whole chapter with Rhysand saying all that stuff to Tamlin and Lucien, you're just like, what the fuck? I don't know. What? So basically we know that there's some kind of oath or something. There's some time limit that's coming to an end.
Yes.
And everything is getting a bit more intense. Suddenly, the already scary stuff that we've been experiencing, something potentially is going to get worse or whatever. So Tam is like, you gotta go.
Tamlin seems to be in some kind of danger that we don't really know why. It has to do with the blight, right? Like something to do with the blight in Amarantha and in Rhysand, right? So Feyre is sent off, and in chapter 28, that's when she goes home. So it starts off. This to me was like so heartbreaking because it starts with Alice dressing her. Mm-hmm. And what I think is so actually interesting about the beginning, she dresses her in this like very frilly outfit that like Feyre even says like frilly and confining and binding in all the wrong places. And I think, and we'll see this throughout both ACOTAR, but as well as like Sarah J. Maas's other books, like clothing is really fucking important in the Maasverse, and it really like shows a character's comfort or discomfort in this case. Yeah. Which like obviously Feyre is uncomfortable leaving. Like she calls Tamlin's manor her home, right? Later in this chapter. And so her leaving is obviously like very uncomfortable for her. But I thought that that was really interesting. Like, that's one of the first intros, I think, to like apparel being an important signifier for a character's comfort level.
Well, yeah, and I also think like the outfit, it's reminding us that Feyre is returning to the mortal like world,
but in a very different way.
Yeah, in a very different way than she left it. But it's like the way she describes like the outfit and everything is, she even says like some mortal fashion among the wealthy, no doubt. Like, so, and it's just a completely different style of attire than she's been wearing. And like there seems to, I think there's a lot of stuff she's been able to get away with because she's been in like the Fae like realm.
Yeah.
But now that she's returning, it's like she needs to go back to the like gender roles and like wearing these dresses and wearing these things. And she even makes the joke of like, she expected a parasol like to go with it and all this stuff. And it's just, there's these like reminders of like, yep, she's returning. Like she's not just going home, she's leaving like a completely different realm of like experience and things. And like, yeah, I think this outfit is like it's like a perfect metaphor for just like, oh shit, she's got to stuff herself into this idea of where she's supposed to have been this entire time.
Right.
Because that was a really interesting thing too, of like when she kind of later in the chapter goes into the like
Aunt Ripley stuff.
Oh yeah, like wait, okay, this is the story. Like I've been with a rich aunt, I've been with like blah blah blah. So there's just like this like really stiff reminder of like, you are leaving magic, you're leaving this like frolicking through the woods with your lover, like you are returning to the confines of the mortal world.
It feels like very surreal, I think. Like it reminds me of that thing of like when you have left home as a kid, like to go to college or just be on your own, and then you come back, whether it's like for the first time or even like years later.
Yeah.
Like kind of reminds me a little bit of so like last year I think it was, my parents remodeled like basically our entire house except for like my and my sister's room. And like when I first visited, I knew I was coming home, but I was like, oh, but it feels so different because like this is not the living room. I mean, it's beautiful, but like it's not the living room I grew up with. It's not my parents' room I grew up with. So it's kind of that like bit of like surreal feeling,
Yeah, I think that's so funny you said that, because literally the first note I have in my notes here is that this saying goodbye does not feel real.
Yes.
Like it just, because I remember the first time reading this, you're kind of going through this whole chapter of like, yeah, but okay,
well,
like this isn't really gonna, she's not actually gonna leave. Like there's no way. Like this feels so surreal. We've like been in this wonderful like space together, and now we just have to go back to that fuckery. Like what?
Well, and to skip a little bit ahead in this chapter, like when she's saying goodbye to Tamlin, he does say, I will see you again on page 251. So it's like she's feeling it, he's feeling it. But the question is this just them being like naively optimistic?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they actually, I do think it's significant Tamlin says that, because he is the more realistic in regards to whatever the fuck is going on that we still don't really know, right? Like he obviously is holding more cards than Feyre does in terms of the knowledge of what's happening. So I think it's pretty significant that he is saying we will see each other again. It's just a matter of like when, because let's not forget, like time for Fae is so different than time for humans. Like
totally.
20 years is probably the equivalent to like, I don't know, like a month to Fae.
Yeah, maybe 20 years feels like 2 years.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Exactly.
But yeah, and I also think it's that Tamlin is the sort of like in this goodbye, Tamlin has more power in this goodbye because he is the one who is sending her home.
Yeah.
Feyre has sent sort of like, and we see it in these two chapters where she is kind of constantly like convincing herself that this is the right idea to leave. But at the end of the day, Tamlin is the one who has the more control in this goodbye.
Yeah.
So I also agree that it's important that he's the one that says, I will see you again.
Well, then,
because he is the one who's going to make the ultimate choice, or like in my mind, when they do return, if they do return, get back like together, it would be Tamlin being like, okay, it's safe. You can come back now.
Exactly. And I think there's also this level of like, you have to kind of question, is he being truthful? Or is he just saying it
lessen the blow?
To lessen the blow, right? Which like, I mean, we know the answer, but for those who have not read it before, like, hopefully not, because that's like a pretty shitty thing to do, right? Get her hopes up, leave her wondering, right? Like,
yeah.
But, you know, he does say it, and I think that's significant. The other thing, just going back, actually, well, no, I think on the same kind of note page before that, she tells him, this was like so important.
Oh.
My paintings, they're yours.
Oh my God.
That is like so, I mean, that is Feyre basically ripping her heart out, being like, here you go. Here, it's yours.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, I don't want to go super into depth of it because we like talked about it in a previous episode when like, they go to her art room.
Yeah.
Like, we know how vulnerable and like kind of spiritual painting is for Feyre.
Yes.
Right? So like that was really, really big, I thought.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like her kind of giving her paintings and how, you know, she kind of says right after it, she's like, you know, unable to come up with anything better to express how I felt, what it did to me to be sent away, how terrified I was. I kind of wrote this thing where I was like, Feyre is processing like a lot. She's finally acknowledging these emotions of not wanting to leave his side. Like, we remember a couple chapters ago when he was gone for a little bit and like, and she was like, I like it better when he's near. And so, and Feyre has been holding back from admitting a lot of these particular things to herself.
Yep.
And in the last chapter, really,
couple
before
chapters,
this though, but like, she very recently is like allowing herself to feel these things.
That's what makes it so heartbreaking.
And then all of a sudden it's being taken away. And like she's finally allowing herself to admit that she's falling for this male. She's finally allowing all these things and then she's being sent away. And so I just think like the paintings are kind of this like weird, I mean, it's what she says, but like I do think it's the only way she can express everything that she's feeling right now. Because like this has got to be so overwhelming. Oh. Like they finally have sex, which is this like ultimate validation of their feelings for each other.
Yeah.
Also, after her mind has been wildly violated, like there's so many overwhelming things that have just happened. And now she has to somehow compose herself to like go back home. Like there's just, Feyre is having to deal with such a quick whiplash of shit in this chapter.
Yeah.
Or at least like, especially like in this beginning, like to go from probably one of her most joyous nights in the realm to probably like her hardest morning.
To put it crassly, she's been fucked in every possible way if you think about it. Like literally and metaphorically, like her mind has been fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, like literally by Lucien in a way, but also just like conceptualizing what is going on and like as Tamlin put it, like she's trying to read between these lines. Yeah. Right? And she doesn't even know what the lines are. And then she literally got fucked last night. Yeah. Right? You know, without spoiling anything, but I do want to say this for the new readers in the hopes of they'll listen. But there is a tendency in the ACOTAR fandom, for those who have read all the books, to kind of give Feyre, I think, more shit than she deserves. Right?
Yeah.
And I think this is a reminder, especially in the first book, of like, baby girl really has no way of knowing what's going on.
Okay. I'm so glad you're saying this because Lucien.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Right. Mm-hmm. Lucien has this moment, page 250, where he literally says, I thought you were smarter than this.
Like,
okay. I literally wrote, what? Smarter than what? What else is she supposed to do? Tamlin is sending her away. And my favorite thing is that right after that, she goes, goodbye to you too.
Yeah.
And then in her head, she says, it wasn't my choice or my fault that they kept the bulk of their conflict from me.
Yeah.
And I literally wrote like, no, it freaking isn't, girl. Nope. Damn these Fae males.
Yep.
Like, yes, this is so annoying. Like for Lucien to have any level of like anger towards her in this situation is so frustrating to me. Because I'm like, homie, how the fuck is she supposed to, like, what?
Yeah.
What? Tamlin is telling her she needs to leave. She just discovered that, like, mind penetration is a thing.
Yeah.
Like, this is terrifying. No one has warned her anything. No one has given her any kind of clue.
Yeah.
All she knows is there's been some scary fucking shit that has gone on.
And she has made love, because I would not consider her and Isaac having sex. That was fucking.
Yeah.
She has made love for the first time the night before. Like, her brain, also, not for nothing, she is 19 years old.
Yeah.
Like, her brain is not fully formed yet.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It's so infuriating.
And like this, I do love Lucien.
I love Lucien.
Like, especially later on, but like, he in this book does drive me a little bit crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I will say gavel.
Yo, gavel.
Shocker.
Gavel. Oh, she does the first gavel.
Hey, it is my birthday.
It is her birthday. She's growing up, kids. She's growing up.
He does give Tamlin shit too.
So
yeah,
that actually was the next thing I was actually about to say, is like, the only redeeming thing is that very immediately he goes to Tamlin, right?
Yeah.
And he's just like, you're not even going to give her a few more days.
Yeah.
And it's like Lucien stared him down for a moment, spat on the ground, and stormed up the stairs, which is like,
he's big mad.
He big mad.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a very aggressive stance.
But also, what does that mean? What does he mean? Give her why is there a time? Is there a time constraint?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Time constraint, but also for me, I mean, like, I took with the first read cap on, I took it as just like, yeah, let baby girl like just kind of settle in this love that you guys have right now, and like let her kind of like slowly, like, why do we have to send her away so intensely?
Because let's be honest, Lucien knows they fucked last night. Like,
yeah, of course he does. Oh my god, please, he absolutely does. Well, also like Faye hearing, like, come on, It's also smell. And if you've read any other like Faye stuff, they like talk about how you can actually like smell when someone is aroused, because it's like an animal, like you give off particular chemicals,
pheromones, I'm sure,
when you're like turned on.
Yeah.
So like, I just
mortifying.
like, well, I mean, on like a side conversation, like a little tributary, if you will, it does also then make sense why like Faye are like, they're so open sexually.
They're horny
because you literally can't hide it from each other. Like,
that's a really good
everyone's
point,
gonna know. So what the fuck is the point to just be like, no.
They're a little more sex positive than the mortals are.
They're very open. But okay, so so he says, you're not even gonna give her a few days. Like, he spits all this stuff. And then Feyre even comments how like Tamlin, the worst Tamlin does to Lucien in this moment is like growl at him a little bit, but he doesn't really do more, which I think is this really true. I love that this is clearly not the first time they've had this argument. Oh, like, very obviously Lucien and Tam this morning, or maybe right before, at some point in these last like day or night and a half, Lucien and Tamlin have had this argument.
Yes.
Because you can just tell that Tamlin's like, just let him go off. I'm not going to be. And it also kind of shows that Tamlin's angry too. Tamlin doesn't want to send her away.
No.
And I think him not reprimanding Lucien like too hard. Well, and he even actually says like, like, he like, this isn't up for debate. But like Sarah J. Maas makes a point too, right? Tamlin didn't reprimand him. And I think that's just important, because I think it really shows like Tamlin's kind of like, can you be the one who lets off all the anger? Because I can't right now. Because I have to stay in this space for Feyre.
Yes.
Because if he's kicking and screaming that she's leaving too, Feyre is going to be like, well, then why am I leaving?
Why are we doing this?
Why are we doing this?
It is, there's this part of me that's like, aw, he likes her. Like, he, like, as a friend, right? Like, it's that moment where you realize, like, your partner's, like, best friend approves of you. Yeah. But in, like, the saddest way possible.
It's in the saddest way possible.
But there's still that little part of like, oh, it's like confirmation,
This little back and forth where like you're really pissed at Lucien, and then you're kind of like, oh, this is kind of sweet. Like, it actually kind of shows like the complications of his emotions, of just like, when you get really upset that something is happening and you also know that you can't really change it, how you kind of like lash out in these weird ways, and then you're just like, and you kind of like brat away.
Kind of a mercurial guy, I think, like, and we'll see that. I mean, I feel like Thorns and Roses actually is like the most he gets that way. He's a little more diplomatic, I guess.
Yeah.
In other books.
Well, he kind of has to be.
He has to be, yeah. But like, yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah. I have a sound moment.
Yeah, what's your
that
sound
happens
moment?
right before the proclamation from Tamlin.
Yes.
Which, big deal.
Big deal.
Big deal. Okay. So, page 251.
Yeah.
He shut the door, sealing me inside with a click that sounded through me.
Oh,
he leaned... Ariel's reactions. He leaned through the open window to caress my cheek, and I could have sworn that I felt my heart crack. The footman snapped the whip.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we have a lot of little sound presence here.
It's very core memory, you know? Yeah.
Yes, vibrating on the same frequency. Absolutely. But yes, I feel like there's some subtlety to play with here. And like, you know, we've talked about some of these sound moments before, and I feel like a lot of them have been either like extremely like quiet type drama or like big moments.
Yes.
In this, like, I feel like the click should be a moment, but I wouldn't want to rest on it too long.
Yeah.
I almost feel like it would more be something that the director would maybe more see if the actor kind of did it naturally.
Yeah.
And if they didn't, it would maybe be a note of like, feel that door has closed.
Yes.
Because it is this actual metaphor of this potential of this time in your life potentially closing.
Yeah. The door on this relationship closing.
Exactly. The door on this relationship closing, and then almost have the actor actually like feel it in their body.
Yeah.
I also do think though, because as I was just saying that, I was realizing it also could be very cool if the crack or if the door snapping shut did almost start this weird sequence of her sort of like spacing out. And I almost, if it is like a click, and then you maybe sounds get a little muddled, or like, I haven't quite nailed down how I would want to play this moment, but I just feel like it would be something, because what could be cool is that you could maybe hear a crack.
Yeah.
As if her heart is cracking.
But it's like the actual click of the door.
Well, no, it would be like click, muddle, crack, whip.
Yeah.
So there's sort of this like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's almost like the crack could be the whip.
Yeah.
That you're hearing twice.
But it's a metaphor.
Or it could be like, you know, or like maybe that's a bit too on the nose. I don't really know. We'd have to sit in a mixing room and figure it out. Exactly. But I do feel like there is something here that you could really play with. Yeah. And I also just feel, even if you take it out of the like filmmaking standpoint, I think this is a pretty visceral moment.
Yeah.
Because it is the true realization that she is actually leaving now. The carriage door is closed.
Yes.
And then fucking Tamlin
look
says, I love you.
Like
officially, like we had the thing where maybe she heard it.
Yeah.
It happened. Yeah. But she's like, right. Cause even before this, she's like, did he say that? Did he blah, blah. And then we get the confirmation face to face.
Yes. I have a lot to say about this. Putting my first reader cap on.
Yes.
If I were reading this from because like I was trying to think back to like, how did I feel about this when I first read it? And I think I was just mostly sad for Feyre, right? And also not just sad, but thinking like, what the fuck is the rest of this book going to be about if she's leaving? So I was like in that headspace. Yeah. If I were to go back, if I could just wet my brain, right, and reread it, I think, and like really think about like the responsibility on Tamlin's part of saying this, right? I would be pretty pissed. Because this very much feels like your high school boyfriend, who's maybe a year or two older than you, going off to college, being like, oh, we have to break up because I can't do long distance, but I need to tell you I love you anyway, right? Yeah. Like that, this is what that moment really feels like. And like the whole, like, maybe we'll get together later down the line. Like, it feels like in this moment, with the knowledge that we have, it feels like that. whether or not it is, we will see.
Right.
But and I understand he has said we will see each other again, but that just, it's so vague. It's so, there gives no time frame. Like, this is also coming from a place of like, I've actually like been in a very similar scenario. And like, once I was given more info, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this person told me like, oh, I meant like, because I interpret it as like maybe in a few months, and he's like, no, I meant like after college. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's years from now.
Yeah.
So like, I have a very particular like stance on this, but man, it's just like, well, and then she's left with like wanting to say I love you back, and I get why she doesn't, like, because she is in that situation of like, I don't know when. Like, I know he's telling me I'll see you again, but how realistic is that?
Yeah.
It feels irresponsible.
Yeah. I heavily disagree.
All right, let's hear it.
And what's funny is because I too have been in a similar situation.
Yeah.
And I was so happy that I was told.
I see.
That I was loved.
Yeah. And
I think because this turns into, this is really funny.
Yeah.
For me, it turns into this like, this desperate, it's desperation.
Yeah.
And it almost turns into these like, what are the last words you wish you could say to this person?
Right.
And because for me, this almost feels like confirmation.
Yeah.
Of like, I love you.
Yeah.
This is not just, we had a great time, now you gotta leave.
Yeah.
This is like, no, I love you.
You mean something
and I'm sending you away because I love you.
Yeah. Because
I'm scared for your life.
Yeah.
And it's I love you. I'm going to try to bring you back.
Right.
Is there a level of selfishness to this I love you? Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm not denying that at all. But I have been in this scenario where, we decided to break up after much convincing from him to me. But we did tell each other that we loved each other. And it was this sort of beautiful, dramatic, but this sort of beautiful thing of like, at least we'll always have that. We'll always have that at this moment in time, we were in love with each other.
Yeah.
But it is a level of selfishness, but it's almost a level of selfishness that like, at least in my experience and how I read this was kind of like almost an understandable selfishness because you're just like, I want to be able to have known that I said that, because also there is a level of danger we know that Tamlin is about to enter into.
Well, yeah, we know there is a danger.
That something's going to happen. That's why she has to leave. So it's like, there's also this fear and kind of all of this stuff. And I think also, I feel like there's a level of fear that Tamlin has right now. And so I think that's where the I love you comes from. And it is really hard, this paragraph after where Feyre is just like, I should say it. I should say those words. But then she says, this is on 251. She goes, but they got stuck in my throat because of what he had to face, because he might not find me again despite his promise, because beneath it all, he was immortal and I would grow old and die. And maybe he meant it now, and perhaps last night had been as altering for him as it had been for me. But I would not become a burden to him. I would not become another weight pressuring upon his shoulders. And here we are. Feyre now, again, is viewing herself as a burden. Yeah. She will not be the reason Tamlin suffers. She believes sparing him the truth will spare him. And it fucking hurts. It hurts so bad. I think I brought up the burden thing because I feel like Feyre has stopped feeling like a burden. Yeah. And I think we're now back in this space of like, yes, because she is mortal. Right. It's not, I don't think Tamlin views her as a burden. No. But yes, because she is mortal, it is scarier that she is around. And so she needs to leave. Right. But her little
intrusive thoughts.
Yeah, which I mean, I think all of us would like feel that way. But she's kind of doing the classic like soldier's wife concept of like, I am not going to burden you with all of these thoughts and things because I need you focused, because if you're focused, you'll come back to me alive. Yes. I know.
It's so rough.
It's brutal.
Well, and then what's even rougher, man, is she leaves, right? First, she gets knocked out by the magic, which is just like so dark but kind of funny. And then when she wakes up in front of this manor that she says is almost as big as Tamlin's.
Dude.
And is like, what? And she kind of, I mean, I think she kind of quickly realizes, considering this is my family's new home.
Yeah, I feel like she realizes it faster than I feel like I would have.
Oh, if I'd been there, I'd be like, where the fuck am I?
Yeah.
So this complete culture shock, really. Which is like wild, because if you think about it, like let's just talk for a second about where Feyre's journey, right? Within the past, let's give it maybe 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
Okay. From a tiny cabin, basically 1 or 2 room cabin, to that she's lived in for how many years? 8, I think. It's like 8 or something like that. 5 or 8. And she's known what riches have looked like.
Yeah.
Right? Again, her father used to be called the King of Merchants, or Prince of Merchants, to this tiny cabin, then brought to a magical realm where she thought she would pretty much immediately die, seeing the biggest fucking manor she's ever seen in her life, then like rails against it at first, then realizes, oh no, I actually love being here and I love the person who owns this place, only to be sent back home to a brand new home that she's never been in, that is almost as big as Tamlin's, and then realizes, oh, this is my family. Because like, we have to also remember, she knew Tamlin took care of her family, and she knows they are, I don't even actually know, she knows they're wealthy. She just knows they're taken care of to a degree, right?
Yeah, I don't think she knew the degree, mainly just because the amount of little things that come up in these 2 chapters of her just like, what? Yeah. Like, I do not think that she had any concept that it was this level.
And just to skip a tiny bit ahead, she then realizes Tamlin has sent her with trunks of like jewels and gold and shit just for her.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get into later like how wealthy she is in the next chapter, but like, she is already grasping to understand everything else than this. Yeah. Like, I think I would actually combust if I were in her shoes.
Well, and I think like
I would have a mentee B, as the kids say. Like,
well, because like, yes, like the overall summary of everything she's gone through is insane. But even if you look at it purely from just where she last left her family and where she sees them now, like get rid of all of the in between, just cut back to the hovel.
Yes,
straight to what we're seeing right now is like absolutely insane.
Yeah,
and like reading this again too. I was kind of like, wait a minute. Okay. When he glamoured them, were they already in a new rich place, or were they glamoured still in the cottage and then they got moved?
Well, we find that out.
But then like, what is the story about the aunt?
Yeah.
And like, what is like, it's so wild to sit and be like, okay, wait a minute. Like, what did,
how did the glamour work? Basically?
Yeah, like how did the glamour really work? And I went back, and it's on 144. Tamlin gives us a
little breakdown,
a little thing where he's like, for what it's worth, your family knows you're safe. They have no memory of a beast bursting into their cottage, and think a long lost, very wealthy aunt called you away to aid her on her deathbed. They know you're alive and fed and cared for. And then he's like, but they also know that there's like rumors that there's a threat in Prithian and like blah, 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 blah. And like, I just love Feyre having to like remember this like story.
Yeah.
Right. Because she even has this moment where she's just like, right, the story, like, okay, like blah, blah, blah. But it's just gotta be so exactly like you said, like combusting almost to just like remember. The last image she had of her sisters were them cowering in a corner.
Yeah.
And like
her
just
freaking out.
And her dad freaking out.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is her seeing this manor, seeing her sisters come out. And also even like real quick before we get to like your point is that I think this quote that she says about the human servants is really interesting.
So important.
Because she says, so it's page 252.
Yeah.
The other servants were human too, all of them restless, not at all like the utter stillness with which the high fae held themselves. Unfinished, graceless creatures of earth and blood. And I literally wrote like, Dame Feyre, you've been with the fae for too long.
I'm a little bit snobby.
But I think I'm glad that Sarah put this in there because she also has another moment about like the food too.
Yeah.
That I think is important of that. Feyre has been in this world of like magic with these very specific style of creatures and things.
Yeah.
And but I think this goes to the point that we're making of the combusting of like she goes from being around these like perfect graceful creatures to seeing humans almost with the eyes of the fae.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, okay, this could be why like the fae are like kind of view the mortals as like kind of lowly because it's just they're like skittish little animals compared to what the fae are like.
It's the most bizarre version of culture shock because it's like you're being culture shocked by your own culture.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Like the only thing, because I was thinking, I'm like, do I have like anything in my life where this has happened? And this is like so ridiculous to compare to, but like bear with me. When the first or second time I came home after living in New York for a few months, I was already a pretty fast walker to begin with, but like especially when I moved to New York, I was a speed walker, and like it's very common in New York, like no one really like walking wise obeys traffic laws. Like you just cross the street, if there's no cars coming.
Yeah.
And I remember coming back to like I grew up at like right outside of San Francisco in like a suburb, and like people would wait for the red light, and I'm just like, there's no cars coming. Why aren't we moving?
Why aren't people moving?
Yeah, and it's like that's like the very like minor version of what Feyre is going through,
totally.
Right? But yeah, so like there's that, and then her sisters come out to greet whoever's in this carriage, and they don't recognize Feyre. Like they bow first, and Nesta on on page 252, it says, Nesta spoke first, curtsying low. Elaine followed suit. Welcome to our home, Nesta said a bit flatly, her eyes on the ground. Lady ... I let out a stark laugh. Nesta, I said, and she went rigid. I laughed again. Nesta, don't you recognize your own sister? Elaine gasped. So like that is like, and I get like they're not really like, they're probably taking the carriage, like it's very, I'm sure, fancy. They're bowing, but it's still like didn't recognize their baby sister.
Well, remember how they last saw Feyre.
I know.
She was malnourished
in tattered
clothes.
Yeah.
And now she's in this like gilded carriage in this fancy outfit. I mean, like
she has lace gloves on, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, and also like haven't you ever done the thing where like I've had people like surprise me before.
Yeah.
And when you don't expect someone to be in a particular surroundings,
right,
you could pass them by on the street and not recognize them because they're not supposed to be in that like reality for you, right. So it's like, yeah, like I a friend of ours surprised me for my birthday one year, and she was even at my front door, and I didn't. When I first opened the door, I was like,
"What?
Who are you?" You know what I mean? Like, because you're just not. That is not what you're expecting. So I think there's a level of that there. But I think also it's just like, when was the last time they saw Feyre like fully nourished?
Probably when she was a child.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
that's so true.
And she's now 19. Like they don't know what her as a woman looks like.
You know, I never even thought about that part of it. Well, and then so, you know, they realize, oh my God, it's Feyre. Elaine gets super excited. Nesta hangs back.
Yeah.
We're going to talk, I think, more about that in the next chapter, but there's definitely something off. Feyre kind of then is like, you know, sussing things out. And Elaine has this quote on page 252. Because she first is like, why are you here?
Right.
Something happened to Aunt Ripley.
Yeah.
And so, Elaine is like, did Aunt Ripley die? And then Feyre has to remind herself, like, oh, yeah, like, the aunt. which I'm kind of a little pissed at Tamlin for not reminding her, like, hey, this is the story, right? So she's like, yeah, she died.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Then Elaine goes on to kind of explain how all of this, their riches came to be. And she says on page 252, almost a week after you went to care for Aunt Ripley, some stranger appeared at our door and asked Father to invest his money in him. Father was hesitant because the offer was so good, but the stranger insisted, so Father did it. He gave us a trunk of gold just for agreeing, which is like wild.
Yeah.
Within a month, he doubled the man's investment, and then the money started pouring in. And you know what? All those ships we lost were found in Barat, complete with Father's profits. And then Feyre says, Tamlin had done that for them. I ignore the growing hollowness in my chest. Like, this is the part where I'm like, I understand they're glamoured, right? But like, to my knowledge, and I think this stays pretty consistent through the book, like the glamour is really only that like they don't remember Tamlin and Feyre being taken away and like all of that. I don't think it really glamours them to like, it doesn't glamour them to believe this story. So the fact that sweet Elaine, like I say this with love, like Elaine I think is the most naive of the three sisters.
Oh yeah.
She's very sheltered compared to the other two. Like for her to just like believe like, oh yeah, this guy just insisted on paying Father, and would you know it, his ships just happened to be found with all the riches. I'm kind of sitting here going like, Elaine, like what are we doing? Like why aren't you questioning any of this?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like there's a like you kind of have to wonder, why is Nesta is acting very
Nesta's acting very weird.
And we know she acts cool. Like that's her MO, right? But there is something different about this coldness.
Well, I think it's because Nesta is smart. And Nesta has enough kind of wherewithal to be like, okay, like I think there's a level of Nesta that like, and I think this kind of comes into it in like both of the chapters we had to read for this week of just like, I think there's a level of Nesta that is like really afraid to trust that this wealth that they have is gonna stick.
Yep.
This whole like is this stranger appeared and asked like our Father to invest in his money, and it's like, I'm so glad that at least Elaine says that like Father was hesitant, because like what dude in their right mind would come to these people who live in a hovel and be like, help me invest my money?
That's
like
the other thing, their dad, like
but it's also like, I mean, you need to take a chance, right? So it's like, I'm glad that he did. And then these ships appearing, coming, like returning back, like it's so mind-boggling. But also, what else can they do but like trust it though? Because they have first of all, they have no idea that glamouring is a thing.
Right.
The only thing I could really see them thinking is maybe like, okay, if this is some Fae trick, maybe we just like, let's just like take advantage of it while we have it before it gets like pulled out from under us or something. Like,
I was thinking more in like, not even Fae, just like humans like scamming them.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. But I also could see at a certain point, like, what is there to lose?
Yeah.
But also, I think a thing we need to remember is that in their mind, Feyre has been taken away by this rich aunt.
So it could have been the aunt.
So there is a level of like, no matter what happens with this, we'll try this, but like, I'm sure something will come of Feyre taking care of this aunt.
Right.
You know, like I'm sure something will happen. So like they're kind of already in this like crazy things are happening, like headspace, you know? But I do think it's funny that it's just Feyre is just sort of, I'm not Feyre, Nesta is like, I don't know. I just think there is a level of Nesta that is just very hesitant to trust any of this, because like they've had such a back and forth.
Yeah.
I also wonder if there's a level of Nesta that's like kind of jealous that Feyre got to be the one to go to this aunt.
I'm sure there is.
Like why wouldn't the oldest go?
Right.
Why would it be the baby sister to go? And so I think I wonder if there's a level of that there. Also, Feyre comes back with the fortune being left to her.
Yeah.
Because in Nesta's mind, this is what is truly happening, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just like, there's got to be some jealousy there. There's got to be some like annoyance.
Well, we'll get into it in the next chapter more. I don't want to skip too far ahead, but like we find out some stuff about Nesta, what happened during this time
like
period.
when they came back.
Yeah.
But I also just like fucking Tamlin, man. He didn't have to have the ships be found.
That's the weird.
He didn't have to do that.
See, the way I interpreted this, I don't think he actually had the ships be found. I think he just sent gold.
That was the excuse of why all the gold. Oh, that makes
yeah.
That makes sorry. I don't know what sound just took over my body.
This is what happens when we're together. Yeah.
That makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that way. Yeah, because I was like,
too, at first, it has to just be he sent gold and said, it's the ships.
Well, like, I was viewing it as like, you extra motherfucker. I love you so much. Like, why did you do that, Tamlin? You sweet man.
To be fair, he is an extra motherfucker because
Jesus. Yeah, because the next chapter.
Gold he gives her.
Exactly. But like, there's this one quote on 254 where it's, Nesta fell into step behind us. I wasn't certain whether I should be furious or relieved that they'd gotten on so well without me, and whether Nesta was wondering the same.
Yeah.
And I think that's a perfect quote for literally what we were just talking about.
Absolutely.
That I think it is this thing of like, don't quite know. Nesta does not quite know how to feel about everything.
Yeah.
And about Feyre coming back in this way. And because, Feyre she was the one who was taking care of them for so long. And when these people are doing so well without you,
right,
it's a little like, but I also just think it's fascinating. There's like all these little moments of like Feyre. She basically says that she finally calms down about her family when she finally sees them.
Yes.
And I think that's really interesting too, because it's like now she can finally believe that like they are wealthy, they are doing well.
They're stable.
They're stable. But like, what a mind fuck, bro. Like,
what a mind fuck. But then I think what's even sadder, because I think this, right after she says that, on page 254, then she says, the carriage is going away, right? She says, horseshoes clopped, and the carriage began ambling down the driveway, away from me, back to my true home, back to Tamlin. It took all my will from running after it. That just talk about hearing my heart cracking, dude. Like,
dude, it's so brutal.
That was so fucking brutal. Like, her true home, like, she's literally back with her family, the people she's been trying to get back to for months, only to realize, like, actually, I belong where I was.
Yeah.
I mean, if this ain't, that saying of like, be grateful for what you have, like, while you have it, like, this is truly that.
Yeah.
On page 254, she says, I had to stay, like, here. It was wise to stay here, but I couldn't fight the sensation, like a darkening shadow within me, that I made a very, very big mistake in leaving, no matter Tamlin's orders. Stay with the High Lord, the Suriel had said. It's only command. So, like, and remember, like, the Suriel kind of, like, has this knowledge of things we don't, I don't actually ever know if we really get, like, a full explanation how the Suriel knows all that shit, but the Suriel knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, there's this intuition based on what the Suriel has said that is tugging at her. And, like, let's remember, folks, like, we still have another, like, little less than a half a book to go, right?
Yeah.
Like, something is going on, and I think she is right to feel this way. But the other thing I want to talk about is, like, these last few paragraphs, I think it brings up a big theme of the whole series. And I think this is the thing we actually get more so in A Court of Mist and Fury, the next book, of chosen family, right? Like, Tamlin is her chosen family. Even Lucien, I think, is her chosen family. And it's like, it's actually like a really appropriate chapter for this week, because, like, I've just been thinking about that since you were here. I'm like, being surrounded by my chosen family. It feels so nice. Yeah. So, but yeah, like, it is obviously, while, like, blood family is amazing and whatnot, like, we love our blood family. Yeah. It's sometimes harder to be separated from your chosen family. Yeah. Like, and we're seeing this with Feyre. Like, it hasn't even been 24 hours since she's been away from Tamlin. Well, actually, I guess it has, because it's been 2 days. But to her, she was knocked out with the magic.
Yeah.
It feels less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
So That's a brutal.
It's
thing.
It's very brutal because I also feel like, you know, it ends right with and though I knew that the promise I had once made to my mother was fulfilled, though I knew that I truly was free of it and that my family was forever cared for, that growing, lengthening shadow blanketed my heart. And I pretty much wrote like, yeah, because it's stupid. You should be able to go back and help him.
Yeah.
The Suriel said, stay with the High Lord. There has to be something that Tamlin is missing, like something that you can do that the Suriel saw or something. Like they're like, cause she even says like something felt wrong. Like it feels wrong. And I think a lot of us, like when you are away from your loved ones, there is this level of things just feel wrong.
Right.
You know, like, and so there's that, but it's just, it's frustrating because like she is feeling a gut instinct that she needs to stay, but then she's convincing herself she's ignoring her instincts, but she is convincing herself that this is right. And that's what this whole last thing is, of just like, he said he loved me. I felt the truth of it, but he sent me away to keep me safe. 2 truths.
Yep.
Hardcore 2 truths.
Precisely.
Of her, she is sitting there knowing that this is the right thing, because from the knowledge that she has, this is the right thing.
It's the logical thing.
It's the logical
That's
thing.
What it is.
But her heart, and I mean, I feel like I don't know if I need to look deeper into that her heart feels this is wrong more than just that she loves Tamlin and she wants to be with him. Yeah. But it's just like, it's got it. But it's also, she brings up a great point by bringing up the Suriel again, because you're kind of like, then what the fuck was that about? Because he literally said like, or they said like, stay with the High Lord and everything will be righted. Like, wait a minute.
Well, and I think to segue a little bit into chapter 29,
totally.
I think what's interesting is like, you know, we talked about a lot how for pretty much like almost the first half of this book, Feyre talks a lot about like her goal in life was to like make sure her family was comfortable and she had time to paint, right? She has surpassed that at this point. So on page 255, we find out like just how much Tamlin has given her. So she says, and what a tremendous fortune, because her dad like basically appraises like all the trunks of shit she's been given. And she says, and what a tremendous fortune it was. The trunks that accompanied me hadn't contained just clothing. Several of them had been filled with gold and jewels, not cut jewels either, but enormous raw jewels that would pay for 1,000 estates. Like, she even says, I think after that, she's like, I was a very rich woman, right? And like, the way I interpret it is like, that money is meant just for her, not for her family, like, because they have obviously their own, just for her. And so to think about, she has surpassed this level of comfort to go on to like things she couldn't even imagine, even back probably when she was a little kid and rich, right? Like, this is beyond the imaginable. And yet it's not enough because she doesn't have Tamlin. Like, and not just Tamlin, she doesn't have Prithian. Like, that is, I mean, it really is that thing of like, money can't buy everything. Right? So it is really, like, Sarah J. Maas does this very interesting thing of like the wish fulfillment. Right? Like, she gets that wish. Because also in this chapter, she talks about she can't fucking paint. She can't bring herself to paint, even though she could buy probably every fucking paint there is and canvas there is on this island that they're on, right? Like, and then some. She can't paint. And that is obviously that is her internally just mourning.
Oh yeah, it's like it's like later in the chapter when she's basically talking about time passing. And she says the shadow within me didn't lighten, and even the thought of painting was abhorrent. Abhorrent. Like physically painful to even think about. And I think this is really interesting you bring this up, because I have literally this whole section where it's after she's like watching Elaine garden and cutie pie girl with her flowers.
Oh, Elaine is in heaven.
I think what's really, really like sweet is like Elaine is a gardener. it's not just like she like likes flowers.
No.
It's like she is a gardener. Like
she's her hands in the dirt.
She's talking about the bulbs.
I know.
And she's talking about like all these things. And it's just, and even the, you know, Feyre comments about how like obviously the servants like, or like, oh God, like they don't like that she's, you know, it's a classic like, oh, you don't want your lady to get dirty, but she just like, no, fuck, I'm doing this. I'm gonna like, it's just so sweet.
I have real quick because we're on the topic.
Yeah.
I do have one tiny bone to pick. And only because it's a joke, I think a common joke amongst the fandom of like, for all the gardening that Elaine does, could she, because she mentioned she's like, oh, I'm gonna like try and learn how to grow vegetables.
Well,
right?
We talked about this in the first episode.
I know, but I'm like, now you're gonna try.
I know.
I mean, it's just funny.
I mean, there are a lot of almost spacey type things because also Elaine has that moment in the last chapter where she's like, "Didn't you get our post?"
Yes,
and Feyre's like,
"What?
Did she not remember that I couldn't read?"
I didn't. You know what I just realized? Oh no, Elaine she is a little bit spacey because Feyre talks about, I can't remember if it's in this chapter or the last chapter, how she would read to Aunt Ripley.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She talks about like basically all she did. I think it might be the beginning of this chapter. All she did.
I read to her daily. She instructed me on deportment from her bedside. I nursed her until she died in her sleep 2 weeks ago, leaving her fortune to me. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, because Feyre literally has this moment of like, she clearly, because I even had it as one of my quotes of like she didn't remember, or maybe she never actually known then that I wouldn't have been able to read them anyway.
Yeah.
And I made a thing of like, when life becomes difficult, we stop seeing the details in other people's lives.
Yeah.
How else can we excuse her sisters not knowing?
Right.
Yeah. But so I just feel like Elaine is a little. Yeah. She's a little spacey sometimes. Yeah. I don't think Elaine's stupid. I just think that Elaine is a little. She just needs to be reminded of some stuff.
She's a little in her own world.
Yeah, because you're just like, because you're like, now you're thinking of growing food. Like, right. Come on.
And look, I know she says she has to read up on it, so I get that. But it's just, Elaine rarely gets shit thrown at her, so I like to include her in on the shit given a little bit.
Yeah, but I just think like this whole gardening, kind of moment, and basically when talking about these bulbs, Elaine brings up this thing of how she was like, oh, I'm gonna go to the continent to see these tulip fields. Yeah. Like Father promised that we'll go. And, and then Feyre's kind of like, I think I would like to see the continent. And she says like, and it was true, I realized there was so much of the world that I hadn't seen, hadn't ever thought about visiting, had ever been able to dream of visiting. And I feel like that's the quote that I feel like goes really well with literally everything you just said of like, this whole thing is opened up to her because she went from thinking that she would have no future, right? Yeah. Before Tamlin. Yeah. And then goes with Tamlin, still thinks she won't have much of a future. Yep. Starts considering a future with Tamlin. Future with Tamlin gets taken away. But now this future, I mean, exactly of what you just said. This idea of actually everything is kind of at her fingertips now. She could go travel the world if she wanted to.
You know what it is?
But maybe not with Tamlin.
Maybe not. And you know what it is? I'm realizing, we were talking earlier about like her family is finally stable, like beyond stable. Like they are good for generations probably. Feyre is not stable in terms of like emotionally stable because like it is just, and understandably so, it is just whiplash back and forth. Like she is going from, I think, different forms of survival mode in a way. Yeah. From like literal physical survival mode to like emotional survival mode. Yes. And having to hide shit from her family. Too. Yeah. Again, and I just want new readers to bear this in mind, and to anyone who has read this before, I want you especially to bear in mind, give our girl some slack. Just like she is going back and forth emotionally and physically in a lot of ways, and I think we need to cut Feyre a little bit of a break. Yeah. I'm being weird because I don't understand people who give her shit. I don't either. I can't. I don't have much to say about that because I don't get it. But yeah, I just feel like
there's a numbness from Feyre in these chapters that I think is really interesting. And I think it goes along exactly with what you're just saying of like, yeah, she's not stable. And how could anyone be with this, like, this whiplash that she's experiencing right now? Because even like, I hate to take us back to 28 ever so quickly, but just even the moment of when they talk about how Aunt Ripley left her fortune, the next page, Feyre is like, such simple things, relatives dying, fortunes being left, and paying respects to the dead. She went from worrying about these fucking demon type creatures attacking her to now it's like, oh, who inherited the estate?
And it is simple when you think about it in those terms.
Oh yeah, like, it makes everything so much smaller. And then this like socialite season that we end up kind of like hearing about.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's just it's so like the whiplash that this woman is experiencing of like, you know, it's crazy
this
when
teenager.
Yes, exactly.
This teenager.
And like when you get used to a certain level of intensity, and then all of a sudden you're back to this like, oh, we're just like worrying about like social status right now,
champagne
like
problems. Cue Taylor Swift.
It's just it's freaking wild. And yeah, we get this very interesting thing from Elaine. That I do think is Sarah J. Maas's little like people suck kind of thing, where she was, you know, she talks about how Nesta didn't finish the last socialite season.
Yeah, Elaine was thrilled to be back.
Yeah,
but she does mention it was weird because everyone was treating them differently, and Elaine says it in this way that I think we will find out later, I think, folks who haven't read, Elaine's a very forgiving person. Yeah. And I think Elaine, and this is like one of the first cases of Elaine being forgiving for something she kind of shouldn't need to be forgiving about. Because, like, I'm sorry, but, like, when I heard that, I was pissed on her behalf. For, like, all the assholes who treated them differently, right? But she, you know, she's thriving. She's super happy to be in the season, you know, socialite season. Also, if you're not quite sure what that is, if you've ever seen Bridgerton, like that's what the socialite season is. It's when a lot of like debutantes come out and, you know, start like, or even if you're not a debutante, you're kind of perusing the marriage market, right?
Yeah, it's basically you like, it's kind of you like coming out to be like, I am ready to try to get married, and like and it,
ring me up.
Yeah, and it tends to be when it's like, it's when all these like parties happen, and you know, it really is just a sign of like a coming of age, and it's like a big time for people with this amount of money to kind of show their status and show like all their things, and
balls happen,
all this kind of stuff. So it's a lot of like, this is where a lot of their social interactions with other people in their financial class it's kind of, this is where a lot of the interactions happen. So that's why that's like the gossiping and the rumors and like all these things. And like,
the
like
tease.
Elaine basically says like people acted as if we had all just been ill for 8 years or had gone away to some distant country. Not that we've been a few villages over in that cottage. You think we dreamed it all up. What happened to us those years? No one said a word about it. And like, it's interesting because while I agree with you that here, I think it's the first time that we see like Elaine, like forgiving people. I do think Elaine, she does kind of show us that she does have this little bit thing, right? Where she's like, you know, because Feyre's like, did you really think that they would bring it up? Like, this is not that, you know, I think it's that classic stereotype of like rich people where like, we're not going to talk about the time that so-and-so disappeared. Like, we're just not going to talk about that. You know, so to me, it feels like that kind of classic thing of like, yeah, did you really expect that they would? And I think Elaine has this really interesting quote that, did
the Nesta one?
Well, right before it, where she was like, you know, because Feyre's like, did you really think they would? And Elaine goes, no, but it made me wish for those years again. Yeah. Even with the hunger and cold. This house feels so big sometimes, and father is always busy.
Well, you know what to say.
It's really interesting.
More money, more problems. Like, and I think this, you know, this is something that will come back up. Yeah. And I think Elaine is sensing that, even though, like, she's obviously thrilled to have her garden. And I think, I mean, that is where Elaine is her happiest. Oh, yeah. Is her garden. Like, she is kind of a simple gal.
Yeah.
You know, in like a great way. Like she is not high maintenance.
Yeah.
Like she just needs her garden. Kind of like how Feyre just needs her paints.
Right.
Right. So although even I would say even more like or less high maintenance because Feyre does need adventure.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. But yeah, no, it is bringing up something in it. She then goes on to talk about Nesta.
Yeah.
And she says right after, Nesta didn't finish the season. She wouldn't tell me why. She began refusing every invitation. She hardly talks to anyone, and I feel wretched when my friends pay a visit because she makes them feel so uncomfortable when she stares them down in that way of hers. And that's on page 257. So we don't know why. I will tell, like, the one thing I'm going to say is we're not going to find out why actually for a few books.
Right.
The full reason.
Right.
But so kind of store that in your memory banks, folks who have, and you will be reminded, don't worry. But just remember this, because it will come back up again in another book. And that's all I'm going to say on that.
I think it's still an important moment to even discuss now because it's just like, I believe that Nesta has a lot of anger that these people are pretending that nothing happened. I believe that Nesta, now that she's seen the other side, she's seen the poverty line, the poverty experience, there has to be a level of being around the waste of the rich that has got to have really gotten under her skin. I mean, I feel like, and it's probably pretty like uncomfortable for her because of how she used to behave. And then I just feel like there's a lot in this experience for Nesta that
she's processing.
And I just, you know,
in a very Nesta way.
Because like, you know, Nesta's like how she was in the beginning of this book. Like she's like kind of a annoying little bitch.
Yeah.
And I just clearly something has happened, but I also just think I'm just wondering if there's a level of Nesta where she is having to kind of reassess how she navigates the world.
Yeah, I definitely think there is. And you know, it's funny because like we see this in reality of like, I think there's two different types of like rich people who have experienced poverty or even not poverty, but just like not being rich, you know? There's like the types who just kind of forget who they were.
Yeah.
And go on and become kind of horrible.
Yeah.
Or not even horrible, but just like they don't think about people who aren't rich.
Yeah.
And then there are the types who do think about like, hey, like I used to be in this scenario, and they're very giving. Right. And so we'll kind of see at some point like where Nesta lands, you know, if it's either one of those or somewhere in between.
Yeah.
But no, I do think that Nesta, like, she's definitely processing stuff. And I, even though, you know, we're not going to find out the whole story for a while or even any of the story for a little bit, I think it's pretty obvious. Like, she's not just being cold in the way she used to be cold.
I think there's a level of like this socialiteness that I wouldn't be surprised that Nesta views it as just stupid.
Yeah.
Because she's just like,
she sees through it.
Fuck. Like, But we discover that Nesta tried to visit
Feyre. Yes.
Literally right after the quote that you just said. Elaine is like, she went to see you, you know. And Feyre's like, what?
It's like that like screech of the record.
Yeah.
Play.
And so this brings up so many questions because literally it's like, I was like, Nesta went to go see Feyre. Did the glamour turn her away? How, like, what happened? And it, you know, she does say like she was gone for about a week and her carriage broke down.
Yeah.
And it was easier to just come back. And so like I'm sort of believing that there was some kind of like
divine
thing
force.
Within the glamour that maybe like fucked up one of her wheels in her carriage or like something. But like for it to be Nesta,
that's the big
to
shocker.
Go. And for me, it kind of plays into a little bit of what I was saying of like her maybe being a little jealous that Feyre was the one who got to go to the aunt.
Right, because why is she going to visit her?
Well, because also I want to know when she decided to go. Yeah. Because was it before they became rich? And she's kind of like, fuck this, I want to go to the house with you? Or was it after? Or like, I want to know when the timing of this all, because it could change why we think Nesta went.
It couldn't have been before they were rich, I don't think, because
it happened like the next day or
the
something.
next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the last chapter, it's Elaine says almost a week after you went to care for Aunt Ripley, some stranger.
Well, no, okay. Yeah. No, but then that very easily, she could have gone to try to follow Feyre like 2 days after this.
She could have. I don't think it would have been, because if she was in a carriage, they wouldn't have been able to afford her renting a carriage.
Very good point, so Ariel.
I think it was after.
It had to have been. They would. Yeah. You're right, because they wouldn't have had a carriage.
Right.
100%. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
But it is interesting. I mean,
it is.
It doesn't negate her potentially being jealous.
Oh no. Like, I mean, that's why I assume why she would go. But it is fascinating.
It's fascinating.
That Nesta of the two.
Yeah.
And I feel like right now the only thing we can assume that she did it for is out of jealousy, or she,
or questioning.
Nesta being Nesta, of like just wanting to see like, what is this situation? Who the fuck are you? Like,
she seems
are
to
you
be
with?
Questioning some shit.
Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, Nesta in the beginning, she questioned, like, one of the things we have seen with Nesta that we talked about in the beginning also was that Nesta can be pretty fucking annoying, but she is very protective of her family. And so there also is this other thing of her, I'm sure, wondering of like, who is this aunt?
That we've never heard of.
Yeah, like who?
Super rich.
Who is this lady?
And where was she when we were in poverty?
Yeah, exactly. And also, Elaine brings up this thing that Feyre looks different.
Yeah.
So page 258, my face was still the same, but there was a glow about me, a kind of shimmering light that was nearly undetectable. And this is after, Elaine says that you just look so different and you sound so different. And I think there's a level of this here, because she even talks about, like, I wonder if some of the magic had rubbed off on her.
Yes.
And that would make some sense to me. There's a level of just, like, especially from what we learned of what Prythian actually looks like. It's just, like, there's got to be a level of it that's rubbed off on her. Also the food. But then also Elaine does this thing of, like, did you, like, meet someone?
I was saying, I think it's love.
I think she's glowing with love.
Yeah.
I definitely think that that's what's happening. But I do have questions of just, like, is there a level of some of the Prythian magic rub, like, because she wonders if it rubs off on her, and I'm curious of that too.
I have that same question. Yeah.
I think, and then just like, I think it's really beautiful that the really only true way for Feyre to find any kind of joy right now is for her just enjoying Elaine.
Yeah.
And, like, it is helpful to escape your issues when a loved one has an interest and you can, like, dive into it with them.
Yes.
And I think because she cannot dive into painting,
right,
she basically just enjoys. She enjoys Elaine. She says, like, I marveled at it, actually, that those years of poverty hadn't stripped away that light from Elaine. Perhaps buried a bit, but she was generous, loving, and kind. A woman I found myself proud to know, to call sister.
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful, I think, realization for Feyre, because I also think there is a level of Feyre, because, like, at this point we've been gone for like 4 days, 5 days
at least.
I think there's a small part of Feyre that is kind of, she's potentially trying to figure out what is her next step, what is her next, and I think we're starting to feel a little bit of this, like, okay, maybe it's a friendship with Elaine, maybe it's traveling the world with Elaine, like, maybe that is her new sort of, like, thing.
Yeah.
So,
well, and also something I just realized, and I don't, if this is what it is, partially what it is, I don't think Feyre is conscious of it, is, like, think about it. Elaine is a gardener. That's often associated with spring.
Yeah.
It's probably the thing that closest reminds her of Tamlin in the spring court, you know? What's interesting, so at the end of this chapter, this is my directing moment, we see, I think it's like after I think her dad, like, has finished appraising all of her shit. And she takes some with her, interesting enough. And she starts walking. And on pages 259 through 260, it says, I reached a bend in the road so that I can navigate in the dark, and there it was. So small. The cottage had been so small. Elaine's old flower garden was a wild tangle of weeds and blooms, and the ward markings were still etched on the stone threshold. The front door, shattered and broken the last time I'd seen it, had been replaced. but one of the circular window panes had become cracked. The interior was dark, the land undisturbed. I traced the invisible path I'd taken across the tall grass every morning from our front door, over the road, and then across the rolling field, all the way to that line of trees. The forest. My forest. It had seemed so terrifying once, so lethal and hungry and brutal. And now it just seems plain, ordinary. Like that, it's a really sad moment. And it's, I think, also like a very big marker of how much she has grown in so many ways, but especially on a like kind of on this like courage level, of like, that was her biggest monster, was going into that forest every day, hunting for food, seeing if she came back alive, and then hoping she came back with something so her family would stay alive. And now it's just ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in terms of directing, the way I'd want to play with this is especially with color. I think I've talked a lot about like color is huge for me as a director, and just really the spring court would just be so saturated with beautiful pastels and spring flowers. And I've always viewed the mortal realm, and especially their cabin and her forest, as like a lot of grays and earth tones. But like, I think I would definitely do a thing where I would make it even more desaturated coming back. You know what I mean? Like almost like not black and white to that level, but like getting kind of close to that. A lot of grays, especially. I'm thinking like, I don't know why, but the first Hunger Games movie came to mind in District 12. Yeah. So doing that, like using that as a technique, and then also using really long lenses for it. So just a real quick rundown for folks who aren't in film. There are two types of lenses in film. There's long lenses and wide lenses. Wide lenses, what it does is it literally makes the image wider, and it also makes the depth, what's called depth of field, a lot. You can see everything in the background fairly crisp. And then long lenses make things a lot more confined, and it makes the background very trying to think of like a way that people understand. It makes it very blurry. Yeah. Right? You got shallow depth of field, is what it's called. And so oftentimes using long lenses can make things feel, depending on the length, can make things feel like almost like claustrophobic. Yeah. Right? Or just like very small. Yeah. And I think I would probably use more wide lenses in the spring court to show how her worldview is expanding. And then when she comes to really juxtapose her coming back and showing like the mortal world is so small in compared to Prithian. Yeah. So I would use those techniques, and just like, also the other thing I would do is like, I'm imagining is like, maybe she's on a dress because like, we know at this point, no, that's not her thing. Her thing is tunic and pants. But like, I would make that whatever she's wearing very colorful by contrast. So using like techniques like that. Yeah. And also just really like in editing, I think I really want to have longer shots where she's just sitting in silence. Just like looking around. And like the silence, especially of the forest. Like we've talked about this before on the podcast, like the silence being so loud, right? And like maybe sounds that were, in the beginning of the film, like the crunching of leaves, things like that used to terrify her, because that meant there's some animal there and she doesn't know if it's a deer or if it's a wolf, right? Like those not really existing in that space anymore, except for maybe hers, right? Yeah. So yeah, I think it'd be a really, really sick scene to play with.
Very sick scene. Very sad.
Very
but
sad.
Like I think that's melancholic. But I think that'd be very cool, because I feel like one of your earlier directing moments was like the forest. Like I think you've already, so it'd be cool to be able to go like bring the audience back to that same kind of like visual, but it's gonna naturally feel so different because of like the imagery from the spring court and all that stuff. So I love that. And I too, I hear it as very quiet.
Very quiet.
Very
reverent.
Very reverent. well, when you said the smallness, this cottage is 3 miles away from there.
She can walk to
That is wild to me.
Yeah.
That is wild. I think that just also shows how insane wealth is. Of that, it can feel like they're on a completely different continent because they have land. They have a manor.
Yeah.
Like, and now she's going back to this little, like, the fact that she can walk and that's only 3 miles away is just absolutely crazy to me. Like, it's absolutely insane. I think this walk that she is taking is also really interesting because she has this moment where she was saying how, like, I could imagine myself walking alongside Tamlin through his woods. And then at the end of the page, we get the forest, my forest. And there's like an interesting parallel that's kind of like happening there.
Sorry, real quick. And that's the forest that she painted. And it's the painting he decided to keep.
Yeah.
Her forest.
Yeah. But I think it's really interesting, this kind of idea of like his woods, my forest.
Yep.
And I think Tamlin's woods represent a lot of joy and color and adventure. And her forest, I think, represents like a lot of sadness and a lot of like survival. Absolutely. And it's also interesting too, because we haven't gotten a walk where Feyre's just like thinking about life in a while.
Yeah. Like not since the beginning of the book.
Yeah. And so, and she has, we get to kind of know that she's basically been waking up every night hoping that Tamlin's going to save her. And she's now worried, she's like, even worse than my disappointment that no such thing had happened, him coming to get her, was the creeping, nagging fear that he was in danger.
Yeah.
And I had this question of like, what's worse, missing someone or fearing for them? And so, like, what's worse?
I think fearing.
Because
that's anxiety.
Exactly. Because missing, you at least can just be like, mwah.
Yes.
But fearing, it's like, fuck, there may not even be a person to miss anymore. And so she's just going through so much shit. Also, just this I love you keeps fucking echoing in her head. But to come back to Ariel's moment, I want all of us to like sit and be in this desaturated world that Ariel has created for us, or that Sarah has created for us, and Ariel has like beautifully painted it for us. And she's looking at this cabin, this house, this very, very tiny house. And what I find fascinating is that she ends the chapter thinking about Elaine.
Yeah.
Because Elaine has this quote that we read earlier of how she missed this house. And I think Feyre has this really beautiful quote or thought where she's like, Feyre is thinking about Elaine, and she says, if she beheld not a prison, but a shelter from a world that had possessed so little good, but she tried to find it anyway, even if it had seemed foolish and useless to me. She had looked at that cottage with hope. I had looked at it with nothing but hatred, and I knew which one of us had been stronger.
That,
like, it kind of makes you get a little choked up, doesn't it? Because what I think is so beautiful is Feyre is appreciating the power of hope, light, and joy, and how actually difficult that is to maintain.
Yep.
The courage to have hope.
Yes.
And I think she's realizing that Elaine has almost turned into this manifestation of that for her. Because the fact Feyre was so, when she was at the cottage, she was so in a place of pure functionality survival.
Yes.
Which is food, shelter.
Yep.
And that Elaine was almost more of this like mental health survival.
Beacon of hope.
Like, and I just think it's so beautiful that Feyre knows she did a lot, but she's actually realizing like the amount of courage and strength it took for Elaine to have that.
Yeah. And
I think this is important to Feyre because I think she needs to have a level of hope right now.
Yes.
Between what's happening with Tamlin, what's happening between her and Tamlin, what's happening with Lucien, what's happening with the Spring Court, Alice.
Exactly.
Like, she cares about the Fae. She cares about them.
Yeah.
And she needs to have this level of hope. And I think Elaine is giving her courage.
Yes.
By making that comment. And I think this travel and this desaturated dark zone.
Yeah.
I feel like she's almost realizing that Elaine was their light in that darkness.
Well, I think that is Elaine's function in the family. And I think Elaine often doesn't get enough credit, when we're talking about the family here, right? And we'll see more of this later, but like, I think Elaine, and I even joke about it too.
Oh yeah, we all do.
I'm like, oh, she's just gardening. Like, what is she doing? I made the joke about she couldn't have grown vegetables, when they were in poverty. But like, and I've seen this in real life, in families or in the world, right? Where it's like, people, I think, value the folks who take action more, which I can understand.
I think both are important, but
that's the thing. And that's what I'm trying to say is like, the people who maybe aren't going out and hunting like Feyre is, or Nesta doesn't do much in this book. Yeah. But, the people who aren't doing, especially in survival situations, they're valued way more than the people who may be a little more, I don't want to say passive, but like, I can't think of another word. No, I'm trying to think of one. But like, the people, they're the beacons of hope, right? And they're the people who make it possible for the action people to go do the actions, right? And so, I think there's a lot to be appreciated about Elaine. Yeah. And because like, without hope, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, absolutely. But I also think that Feyre was never going to clock this about Elaine until they were back and safe and fed and healthy and like all this stuff. I don't think Feyre would ever have been able to have this appreciation of her without this like hindsight.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Well,
wow.
I'm glad we kind of ended on like a hopeful.
Yeah.
Perfect. Two kind of depressing.
It's rough.
Yeah.
It's rough out here for our girl.
It's rough. And it's gonna stay a little rough.
It's gonna stay a little rough.
So next week, we're going to do chapters 30 and 31, Surreal Squad. We'll catch you in the next, this episode that's already out, for the spoiler half of these two. But I'm just so grateful we got to do this together.
I know. Oh Me too. This was very fun.
What a way to ring in a new year.
Happy birthday, baby Bill.
Thank you.
I love you so much.
I love you. I wouldn't want to be on my birthday with anyone else.
So happy you were born. Thank God. I need to text your mom. Thank her for birthing you.
Oh, thank you for metaphorically birthing.
Yeah, you're welcome. Happy. I worked really hard.
I did tell my mom this morning. She called to wish me happy birthday. I was like, oh, by the way, thanks for having me. She's like, no problem.
No problem. Thank you, Pilar and Aaron.
Thank you, Mom and Dad,
for having this incredible human and the other incredible human, your baby sister, who we love
and celebrated. So she sang with us last night.
Yes, she did. It was so healing and so beautiful. But yeah, wow. Well, this was awesome.
This was great.
Super fun. I hope we get to do this again.
I do too.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And you can find us on our social medias on TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, and that's it. At Cauldron Save Us Pod. And yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being along with us. Thanks for coming back after our hiatus.
Yeah.
And as always, you're welcome.
We're sorry. Bye, guys.
Bye.